Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining the next talk today. So happy to share with you. We have Niel Fellows here to do a talk on how clarity creates freedom. Thank you so much for joining today, Niel.
That's my pleasure, Natasha.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you into health and wellness, also about your agency as well?
Yeah, so what probably worth doing is if I tell you a little bit about what I do, and then maybe tell you a little bit about why I do it, and then perhaps other people might see themselves in that story.
Definitely.
So I run a business called Total Wellness Club, and we became aware, we started the business because we became aware that we were moving from an age of information and inspiration into a time of trust and transparency. What I mean by that is if we go back, say, 30 years, because I can go back that far, you probably can't, but I can. If you go back that far, we didn't have access to all of the information that we now have access to. We were limited, to like 4 TV channels, books, that you'd find on bookshelves in the shops. They were only what the best, only what the publisher deemed would potentially be a bestseller. We didn't have access to media in the way that we do today. And if you had something wrong with your health, you would be restricted really to the doctor or perhaps the gym instructor. We didn't have access that we have today. Because if you fast forward to today, everyone's got a voice. Everyone has a platform. We've all got pages on Facebook, and some people have got them on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else, and YouTube. So we can now all kind of like publish our thoughts. We can publish a book online as well. And we've all got to say, could we get YouTube channels where we can talk more about things? So we created Total Wellness Club to really help people develop more trust and clarity in their decisions by giving them sort of reviews and ratings where they could read about sort of wellness products or wellness providers. And then more recently, what we've done is we've added a YouTube channel to that where I do product reviews and interviews with experts. So which does very much the same as our website. It sort of like highlights those people that are out there that have some really good things to share. And it gives people an opportunity to view them before they perhaps even consider going and working with them. So that's kind of like, that's what we do. And the reason why I got into it was because I was once obese. I was about 21 stone once upon a time. I had a knee problem. I had a back injury that, my back would just keep locking up. And this would happen maybe about every 6 weeks or so. And it would be very uncomfortable and painful for a couple of weeks. So it actually interfered with life in terms of being able to work and being able to enjoy myself with my family. I also had back then an undiagnosed food allergy. And people, you hear people, they give you some well-meaning advice from sort of limited expertise, really. When you're adding weight and you're going from like 11 or 12 stone, and you're gradually getting bigger and bigger, people keep saying to you, oh, you're carrying it well. You don't look like you're overweight. They're being polite and being nice to you. When it came to sort of the knee and my back, and also, the food allergy, the doctor's, advice with the back of the knee really was it's just wear and tear. It's only going to get worse. And my mum actually, she's 80, went to see the doctor yesterday because something's happened to her shoulder. And the doctor just said it's just age related, just gonna really have to just put up with it. Now, from yoga, and I know from my experience that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. And I began really exploring health and wellness really when I met my wife Jo, because Jo is just a phenomenal researcher. And we also had the benefit 20 years ago, when all this sort of started to begin, of information exploding on the internet. So I was able to get access to things that I previously wouldn't have got access to. So we're able to start exploring, the back injury and why that happened. And a friend of mine said he knew an osteopath that I should go and see for the back pain. And so I went along. Bear in mind, the doctor said it's just wear and tear. It's only going to get worse as you get older. Keep taking the painkillers. So I saw an osteopath. It took him 5 hours to solve the problem. It cost me about £250. And when you look at that in terms of where I thought I would be at this age now, I thought I would probably be, best case scenario, perhaps with a walking stick. But I actually run now to 10K twice a week. I can do yoga. I'm pretty flexible these days. So, those problems have gone away. The undiagnosed food allergy, the way this manifested itself, it began as a nosebleed. And gradually, it happened at night time, 5 o'clock in the morning, it would start bleeding. And then as the symptoms progressed and got worse, I would wake up at 3 o'clock. And then as it got worse, 1 o'clock. So little by little, I was losing more and more sleep, because once you've had a nosebleed, you don't just go straight back to sleep after it. So I went along and had an allergy test, and the allergy test just highlighted that the problem was dairy. So it's a food allergy. It's not going to go away. But what I can now do is I can work around it. I know that if I have dairy consistently, I will end up back again with the same symptoms. But what I also know is if I can avoid dairy, I can get good night's sleep, and it doesn't.
Sorry, can you just lead back to the dairy? So it was the dairy that led you to having a nosebleed.
Yep.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Usually you can get gastral problems with having dairy.
Yep.
And that sounds very severe.
It was.
The severity of affecting you. Did it affect you in any other ways?
What I found actually is, and as I was learning more about dairy, because dairy is very sneakily put into so many foods. When you start sort of researching, initially you think someone says dairy to you think cheese and milk. That's where I started. So remove those two things. But then I was still getting the nosebleeds months later, and then went back and in consultation with the nutritionist that I was seeing around this. She said, "Oh, dairy's hidden in loads of foods. Start reading the back of the labels." There's a back of labels, So I started to read those, and you realise that even things like crisps or oven chips and things like that there's a dairy coating often on things like that you didn't even know existed, and it's just hidden in so many foods. You'll find it in things like gravy and things like that. So literally then had to start going through everything to understand where dairy was, and starting to eliminate it, and then starting to find the alternatives to that that allow me to still enjoy food, and then educating other people. If you go out to dinner to a friend's house, or you go into a restaurant, until probably about 4 years ago, even going to a restaurant, I think as the issues people have with gluten have become more sort of prevalent and people understand this more, that restaurants have actually become more sensitive to actually getting it right. So they cater more for allergies these days than they used to. But going back, say 4 or 5 years, that was a problem. You go out to dinner and you look through the menu and there's literally nothing on there that you could eat. If you go to a friend's house for dinner, they didn't really understand it. And, sometimes you think, oh, it's just a night at dinner. It's an allergy. It's not going to be too bad if I just do it for one night. So you do it, and then you end up with a nosebleed 2 days later. And, so it's just working with it and understanding it, and gradually sort of improving
back
that.
To so the nutrition. Do you feel that the nutrition played a part in terms of you developing the allergy? Because was that in later years you developed the nosebleed rather than early years?
Yeah, the nosebleeds, I would say, started, I think, around about 2004. I had, it's going to sound disgusting, a lot of mucus in probably 4 or 5 years before that. So there was obviously, when now I know more and I look back, there was perhaps an early warning sign, because this is one of the amazing things about the body. There's never an instant crisis. It doesn't just happen now. It usually accumulates over time, and it shouts early warning signals to us. And if you do something about those, then you don't probably have to go through the long-term problems, and then having to go to a doctor and then having to go for surgery and things like that. If we can nip these things in the bud earlier, through how we live our life, then it can make things a lot better for us. So,
and
yeah,
doctors I find doctors mask the symptom, don't they, rather than actually sorting out the cause of where it's actually coming from. If it's relatable to someone having a headache, and it could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be what's your environment like, or these allergies.
Exactly. There are so many things it could be. And what I like to do is, if I have an issue, I haven't really had one since the dairy allergy cleared up. But if I had something tomorrow, I may go to the doctor for a diagnosis, and the doctor may give me some medication, and that will be my choice then whether or not I choose to take that. For me, what I do is, if it's immediate and it's painful, definitely, I will take the medication. But I know that's for now. It's immediate. But what I will begin to do is I will begin to explore all of the different avenues of health and well-being that I can until I eradicate the problem. Because I don't take on this advice any longer from anybody that this is our lot in life. I've learned, in my 52 years, that isn't true, that we can do things about things. You go and see a doctor, you get a medical professional's advice. If I came and see you, you would be able to give me advice from a different field of play. If I go and see a nutritionist, I'm going to get a nutritionist point of view. If I go and see a fitness expert, I'm going to get a fitness expert's point of view. If I go and see a life coach, I'm going to get the mental side of the game and the emotional side of the game as well. So for me, it's just like explore anything and everything until it goes away. And at that point, we can get back to living life happily ever after again. So I've been in the industry for about 20 years, Natasha, in sort of health and personal development. And my role within that really has been sort of helping wellness professionals reach more people that they can help. But along the way, I've just enjoyed exploring my own sort of health and wellness, really for my own fun now, but also sharing that experience with other people on YouTube. As I interview people who are experts, I always say to them, what's a challenge you could leave us with based on what you've talked about today that could make this practical, that someone listening could go away and they could put a first step into place. And that's what I love doing. And also reviewing the products that we look at that are available, and just to see if they're any good, just to see if they really work and do what they say. And I like to give my experience of that so that other people can see themselves in it and see whether or not it might work for them, without spending vast amounts of money for things not to work for them. So I just enjoy doing that. Just enjoy taking things to pieces, exploring it, seeing who it might work for, and putting it all back together again and sharing it with people.
I think you have to, don't you? You have to be able to research things and not take something by face value because it's a medical opinion. Going to a doctor, and that's what you expect because they're authority, they're higher up. You would perceive them to be. I think they've got the answer, rather than having to do my own research and finding out something completely different. And but it seems to be more of an opening now, that people are more open to looking at different, rather than the Western side, more of a different side of understanding about nutrition and the importance that it plays on the body.
It's so important, I think, to learn to question. I think, it's one of the things that, as I've been developing the YouTube channel, it's really struck me that the most important thing because of the role I play in that, I need to be skeptical when I'm looking at these things. I like to be positive about everything, but as I've discovered as well, I'm very open-minded. In fact, so open-minded my brain might fall out. So I have to play the other side of that and work quite hard at that, to be a little skeptical and think about things from different points of view, to share that information with other people as complete as you possibly can. I think you're absolutely right. Need to ask more questions and explore things.
I think you have to, don't you, to find out what feels right for you as well. I really like Dr. Axe. Have you heard of Dr. Axe?
Yes, come across Dr. Axe. Yes,
I think it's just phenomenal how he explains about the allergies and the connections to nutrition over a period of time, and how it affects the body, and that can lead to terrible connections to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Body's amazing. It's so interconnected. I was interviewing Dr. Chris Pickard recently, and he's a chiropractor as well as a nutritionist. And I think it was leaky gut, I think we were talking about. And he was just talking about how someone might come to him for, say, leaky gut, and he would find that it would be a back problem that they had, or he would find that it's the other way around, that there was a back problem and they had leaky gut. And it's just the body's way of communicating, with us, that something's wrong. There's something we need to go and, find out here. This is something that's not going away. Go and get it checked. So I think it's amazing how interconnected it all is.
So what do you think served you the best during the time that you've been a wellness coach? And
I think with exploring sort of health and wellness, I think for me it's questioning. One of the things we want to talk about today is how clarity creates freedom. And I think asking questions can lead us to clarity, but I think there comes a point as well where we have to stop asking questions and know we've got enough information. And I think for me, the more clarity I have on something, the better it feels for me, because now I can make a decision from an informed place, or actually choose not to make a decision because I don't know enough, or for me, I make a lot of decisions based on people. I would rather listen to people than read information. And for me, I get a lot from hearing the way that someone talks about something, in terms of their credibility and what their knowledge is. And then, of course, if you've got the ability and the option to question someone on something, then again, you can take that even deeper. One of the things I've really found is that talking to some very successful people over the years is that successful people make decisions slowly. These days, a lot of people, you hear people saying, oh, I'm procrastinating over this or that. Procrastination, I think, is a different thing. But when it comes to sort of decision making, successful people take a long time to make their mind up. They might have 10 options on the table for something, and they will explore every one of those 10 options to make sure that when they make their choice, they are making the best choice that they can possibly make. And I just found that's been really fascinating, talking to those people and understanding the way their minds work. So they're very clear when they're making their mind up about something, why they're coming to the conclusion that they're coming to, because they've been very rigorous in the way that they explore something.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. Often I talk about connecting with the intuition, which is the most key part of leading to the connection of the divine. And I think that's where we get that inspiration that flows through. But often when we're vibrating at a higher frequency, more positive within our mindset.
I love that. And the thing as well with this, I think there were three things overall for me, and a whole philosophy really that we have behind Total Wellness Club. The first one is clarity. Second one is habits, and the third one is awareness. And when you bring those three things together, because we need clarity in order to create space. Because if in life you've got emotions, and we have sort of the emotional and the mental side of things, and there can be mental traumas and challenges, and those challenges could be financial, they could be about relationships, career, family challenges. There's so much going on literally all the time, and then we have sort of like, sometimes we have the pain of indecision where we're feeling overwhelmed or overburdened by something. I was watching a TV program actually, and it was some people in relationships, and they couldn't quite make their mind up whether they should be with this person or that person. And you just think, come on, make a decision, because you're going to hurt so many people here. And it's just things like that where we can create clarity. I think we can remove a lot of the angst that we have in life. Sometimes I'm asked to give talks on personal development or health. One of the things I like to kind of consider really is, if we resolve all of our problems, will they, so if we resolve, if we get good at life, can we resolve all of our problems? Will they go away? And the answer is no, they won't. They're still going to turn up in your life. But the key thing is we've got a way of dealing with it. We've got a philosophy that we've built over time. One of my things when my kids will bring things to me and say, what about this, Dad? Can we do that? Can we do the other? Or should I do this? And I'm like, I can't make my mind up right now. I need to know more information. And I'm okay with the fact that I need to know more, and asking and taking my time over things. And I think that's one of the important things. But I think there's something else that goes sort of hand in hand with that. Is it's like, where can we make quick decisions and quick choices? Because we've already set a standard in our own mind. So now we don't have to think about it anymore. So this kind of leads into sort of like habits in a way. So if one of the early ways that I developed this was around money, it's like, how can you make quick decisions around money? So at what level does money not matter to you? Is it £1? Is it £5? Is it £10? Is it £100? Is it 1,000? It's all relative depending on who you are and where you're at in life. And so if you could say, let's say it's at £10, anything under £10 is not worth the time of day to you. It's not worth thinking about. But if something's more than that, then maybe you want to give it a little bit more thought. So if one of my kids comes to me and says, Dad, can I have £10? It's like, yeah, no worries, gone. If it's more than that, I want to ask a question or two. It's like, what's it going to be used for? When am I going to get it back? So I could make quick decisions there. And the other thing is around exercise. And that was the second place that I really sort of developed that clarity, because I know exercise is good for me. And to begin with, it was a bit hit and miss. But I needed to make that decision that I was going to exercise every day in some way, shape or form, because I know when I move my body, I've got better mental clarity and I actually feel good for doing it. If I sit around for a couple of days and I haven't moved, I start getting a bit kind of angsty and pick on people and don't like myself very much. So I noticed that. Yeah, so I just know that, I need to do something. So when we can think about life and think about where we can make our quick choices, we can actually free up our brain to deal with the big things that come in that actually need a bit longer to think about. And then you think about where you want to go with your life, and then you can explore that, take your time over your decisions and start to make really good, solid, clear decisions about where you want to go and who you want to be. So that's what would sound clarity. I mean, I'll talk about habits and awareness as well if you want me to, but I think that's the key thing with clarity.
The thing is, I think habits combine everything, don't they? Really, it can either be a positive or a negative habit. I think according to science, it used to be 63 days for someone to form a habit, which is a long time. And I think it's a lot shorter now or longer. I'm not sure.
I would say it depends on the individual.
Yeah, it probably does.
Yeah. I might, let's say, working on my health and wellness, I might discover something new and think that's really good. I want to build that into my life. Now, how do I fit it in? And so the first thing that I might do is I might say to myself, I want to do this. And then I'll forget about it for like 3 days, maybe a week. And then that will frustrate me as I need to do something about it. So now I need to get it front of mind. So I need it to be in front of me where it's going to bug me on a regular basis. So I have a little chart that I use. I call it the 12 dot. And when I'm now trying to integrate new habits, I add it to the chart. And what I do every day is I give myself a little dot on the chart so that I know that I've gamified it in a way, but I'm tracking the habits. Because if you've got a goal and you want to achieve a goal, you're going to need to chip a little bit away every day. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. So if you've got goals and you want to put them on steroids, you need habits because habits are the things that are going to get you there. If you want to be really flexible, you want to do yoga every day, it's, or at least several times a week. And so you want to put that onto your habits, and track it. Because what we want to do really with habits is you want to take the thought out of it. You want to make it non-negotiable. So now you don't have to have the conversation with yourself. Am I going to do my exercise today? No, I get up at 6:30. I'm exercising at 6:45 for 45 minutes. And when I'm done, I'm done. No questions. This week, it was one day this week, I woke up and I really wasn't feeling it, but it's on my list to do. And I will feel bad all day long if I don't do it. It's like the easiest thing is get up and do something. So I didn't do what I would normally do because I wasn't feeling great, but not my normal self for exercise. I'd overdone it actually, if I'm honest, in the garden. And my dad, he's 84 years old, he had a ton of gravel delivered. And I said, I'll come and help you do it, Dad. There's no way you're doing that on your own. So I overdid it. So the next day I kind of like woke up feeling really kind of like sluggish and everything. So I thought, okay, I want to do what I would normally do as a workout. I want to go through the routine, But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten the routine. I'm going to do half as much with lower weights, but I'm still going to do this. And just that little piece of negotiation allowed me to do it. But the thing that was non-negotiable was the fact I was doing it. So I think when you've got clarity and you know where you want to go, the next thing to do is to build some really good habits in that allow you to get there and pick a bit off every day.
I think often we strive for so much, or I do in particular. I have so many different things that I want to do within the day, but you need to narrow down what's actually important right now. Can that be done on a different day? Can you schedule that in, rather than thinking you're Superwoman, you're Superman. You're able to do everything in that specific day.
Yeah, well, that leads me on to the other thing, is awareness. It's knowing what works and what doesn't work, and what works when, and what you need to change. I was a few days ago, you mentioned also, as well as Total Wellness Club, I've got the speaker agency, and we also have a consultancy business. So I'm a director of 3 businesses, and so there's a lot going on. And the other day I was looking through, there's a big list of things that I needed to do. And I was just sort of sitting there, feeling a little frustrated by the fact that I'd got such a big list and everything seemed immediate. And so I was talking to Jo about it. She's going, come on, coach me through this. And she said, well, why don't you just break it down into the projects? So it's a good idea. So I broke that down into the projects, and I work on a different business pretty much every day of the week. And what it allowed me to do was, well, that project needs to go to that day of the week. And actually it fits in with this thing that I'm working on. And that one fits in on that day of the week, but it doesn't fit in right now. So now I was able to move things off my list and move them into different days. And suddenly I felt a lot better about that. And so, like with awareness, if you've got the clarity and you're developing the habits, it gives you loads of space for awareness. So now you can really see yourself. You can see who you are, and you can see how you're being. Because like if you've got a goal and you want to achieve the goal, you want to get there, and you've got these habits, but when it comes to it, there's something that's going on inside you that's stopping you from getting there. If you're not aware, you're never going to know that. It's like what I was just saying with the example I gave. Obviously, I've got a goal. I want to get to the goal, and there's this list of things that need to happen in order to get there. But it wasn't working for me. I didn't like who I was in that moment. And unless I resolved that by changing the dynamics of who I was and what was on my list to do, I wasn't going to get to the end result.
So what I find really helps me to get into that mindset is meditation or restorative yoga. It seems to be quite a new thing, because I've recently did a course on restorative yoga. And I noticed how much I was starting to feel my body and feel that connectiveness, and building that awareness just by going deep into the posture or meditation, quite similar in that aspect. So I always find that having that connectiveness, because the problem is, I think that we're waiting for something outside of ourselves to change, rather than looking within ourselves. And that's so hard, isn't it? It's so hard, because we want so much for this thing to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. But we're almost like the co-creator of our own reality.
It's I think sometimes it's the difference between push and pull, isn't it? We're trying to make something happen, and it creates anxiety, it creates stress, it creates overwhelm, it creates frustration. And as long as we're kind of trying to work through that filter, we're never going to get there. We can't make good decisions when we're overwhelmed. So it's like getting meditation and yoga, I think, is fantastic for getting you out of your mind and getting you into your body. And when you're back in your body again, you start to feel better, because you're breathing differently, you've got more freedom in your muscles. And now if you've got a decision to make on something, you're making it from your best self, rather than trying to make a decision through angst. And I think that when you approach things from that place, obviously you're going to make better decisions. Those decisions are going to be longer lasting, which means you're not going to have as much stuff to deal with, which means you can have more time to do the things that you really want to do and get where you want to get to. So I think, meditation and yoga have actually really massively helped me over the years, especially when you're dealing with some of those bigger problems in life. And it's sometimes it's your own mentality or your own emotions that are getting in the way. And sometimes it is something that's external that you've got to deal with, and you don't quite know how you're going to do that. So meditation is a brilliant way. I take that problem into meditation, sit with it, see my best self in it, and think, well, okay, how am I going to deal with that?
So what advice do you have for someone that doesn't really regularly meditate?
Yeah.
Or they find it hard to be consistent. They might meditate and automatically they think, oh, it doesn't work. It's just not working. That comes up quite often.
I think this can happen sometimes. I think with quite creative people, they probably are meditating without realizing that they're doing it. For example, like my wife, she struggles to sit and meditate. But if you were to go for a walk in the woods, she would be connected to what's around her in that space. If you were to give her an animal, a dog coming sitting up next to her or sitting on a lap or something like that, she would be in her element. She would be connected at that point. And another way, like just talking about creative people, sometimes it's art that is the gateway to meditation, because you can lose yourself in that. So like photography or even just drawing, it's that moment as a photographer, maybe as setting up the image and thinking about how it looks and how it could look amazing, and getting the angle and the lighting right. So for some people that can be quite meditative. So it's finding what works for you. You don't have to sit there cross-legged looking at your navel, in the lotus position, in order to be connected. I great spiritual teacher that I know, he would say that, on a Sunday morning, you could be as connected listening to Led Zeppelin as you could being in church singing carols. And I just love that.
I wonder if that's because you lose yourself. It's like you're losing yourself in something that you're doing.
Yeah.
So you feel so immersed. So you can literally do that in any point, can't you?
You can.
Yeah.
Music in the car, sunshine out, windows down. You can be there, can't you?
Yeah.
So I think it's whatever works. The thing with what I do is that I think we're all very unique individuals. And I think we were talking about medicine earlier on. Well, medicine really is largely based on Newtonian physics. One size fits all. Scientifically proven that this works X amount of the time. But what we're realizing today is the uniqueness of the human gene and the human personality, and that we all bring our own life and our lifestyle and our habits and our baggage into this moment. And that's what makes us, and we have to find the things that work for us. For some people it's nutrition, other people it might be yoga. We've got something that helps us create a foundation in life, and meditation might be one of those. But we might call it photography or music, but it might be the same thing for us.
It's building that mindfulness, isn't it? It's almost like you should be mindful in anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
The inspiration tends to come through, and you might have this thought.
Yeah.
I was reading a book some time ago by Mel Robbins called The 5-Second Rule.
Okay. Yeah. Haven't come across this, but you educate me on this one.
So she used to be an alcoholic, and I think she used to be a lawyer. And she lost her job, and she went down serious depression, and her marriage was at the brink of breaking up, and it was just really, really bad time for her. She couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And she just found it really hard. And she saw something on TV, which was a rocket ship. And it was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is where she actually got the idea. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launched herself out of bed. So it's almost like she had that idea within her mind. Okay, I'm going to take action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's what she did. And then she wrote the 5-second rule.
Cool.
And the idea was, you think of an idea, because often we think of an idea and then we lose it.
Yeah.
And we just can't remember it after that. So it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take action.
Yeah. Nice. The other thing with that, talking about clarity earlier on, one of the things that really helped me a lot was to get things out of my head. because creative people, I know that you're in sort of the acting world as well, and you must work with some creative people in and around that space, and they're always going to be having ideas. And the problem is that when you get a lot of ideas in your head, it becomes like a load of broken toys. And what I found was just write it down, get it out of your head, and if it's any good, you'll come back to it later. But you've got it, you captured it. And now I haven't got to carry it around in my head anymore, and try and remember those 10, along with those 10 other things that I'm trying to remember. So great technique, just to write it down, just get it out of your mind, and have a system where you file it as well. We've got just behind me, actually, we've got our little filing system where we can put ideas, like someday maybe ideas, where we can put things in that come out on certain days of the month, where we can put things in that come out later on in the year. And it just like takes it out of your head and puts it somewhere else, which frees up your brain space to deal with life again.
So what sort of space are you in when you think of the ideas, or they come to you?
I can be anywhere, to be honest. It can be, those moments where you're just about falling asleep. So I have a notepad in my drawer by the side of my bed. It's got atrocious handwriting on it because usually I'm writing in the dark. Which I wake up in the morning and look at and go, that's not bad considering the light was off. I have ideas when I'm reading, when I'm reading other people's books. They usually spark ideas. So I have another notepad where I sit and read. In the office, I tend to be working on things more than thinking. But in the car, that's more challenging, when you have ideas when you're driving, because you have to remember it until you at least stop. But there's nothing to write on at that point. You've at least got voice recordings that you can use. But yeah, it can literally be anywhere. I think probably in the garden as well, whether I'm gardening or whether I'm just sitting down, ideas come there. Usually when I'm not doing things, usually when I'm not too active, it just allows that sort of space for ideas to come in.
Yeah, I think it allows probably the freedom, doesn't it, where thoughts come in, you feel more calm.
Yeah.
I feel that's what yoga kind of helps cultivate that. You get those ideas where when you're in an anxious state of mind, and then doesn't seem to. Yeah.
In meditation as well, can be another place that it will come. If you're, I might have started, say, going to meditation. I was thinking about something at the beginning that I wanted to sort of resolve, and now I've done that, and now my brain will go off into any other place it wants to go. And sometimes something will just pop in, and you go, I never thought of that. I didn't think of that before. So then, scribble it down and carry on with the meditation.
It's very useful. Yeah. Thank you so much for those tips today. Was there anything else you would like to add for our talk?
Yeah, I think that, if you've enjoyed what I've been talking about today, and enjoyed hearing me talk about it, then come and have a look at our channel on YouTube. It's called Total Wellness Club. And we interview experts, and we look at product reviews, and those experts leave me with challenges at the end of each interview. So I then go away and have a go at that challenge, so that other people can see what that might look like if they had a go too, and also see that other people maybe share the same problem when they try to implement something. So some of the challenges I succeed with, and some of them I fail at, and I'm quite happy to share those failings with other people, because life's not perfect and I don't want to be fake. I really genuinely want to help people. So I share what I'm doing on there as well, so that people can follow along. So if people have enjoyed hearing me today, please come and join us, because I'll just keep along the same track. We'll be looking at habits, we'll be looking at awareness, we'll be looking at clarity in different forms. What I do on YouTube is largely to bring things to people's awareness so they can make decisions. Great,
that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Niel. I will be posting some links in the group as well, so you can have a look at his channel. And yeah, see you guys later. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you, Niel.
My pleasure.